Hey guys, welcome back to another video, and today we will be talking about how to get into streaming a console, something like an Xbox or Nintendo Switch, for the cheap. We'll be going over what to buy, potential upgrade paths, and what settings to use when streaming. Now first, let's go over the basics of what a streaming computer does. If you want to skip this, go ahead to the next chapter. So essentially, to stream something like a console, you need to be able to capture the HDMI output, or whatever it uses, and then send that out to YouTube or Twitch or whatever streaming platform you use. Sometimes consoles will have this feature built in, but not all have this, and also you might run into some quality issues when using this. They tend to stream at a lower quality. Now, to actually capture the HDMI output from the console, you need something like a capture card. This often acts as a webcam to the computer you plug it into and will show up as an external camera. Now, you don't just need a capture card either. You also need a computer which can then take the output from the capture card and push it to streaming platforms. A bit later we will get into the certain requirements you might need to be able to encode and push the data from the capture card at a higher quality. Now, what capture card should you pick up? Looking at the market, it might seem really intimidating at first, but don't worry, I have a few suggestions on what you might want to get. I would generally avoid the really cheap stuff, which will work but often lacks both decent quality and some helpful features. My recommendation is to pick up this Mirrorbox capture card, link provided in the description of course. It has some really useful features like an HDMI out, so that you can pass the captured game signal back out into something like a monitor, so you don't have to purchase something like an HDMI splitter in order to view the console outside of the OBS preview. This pass-through is up to 4K 60 FPS, which is good for things like the new Xboxes and such. Another cool feature it has is an audio plug, so you can listen to the audio without any latency. It also passes the audio through the HDMI pass-through though, and a microphone jack that will directly incorporate your voice into the captured signal being sent to the computer. It also captures games at 1080p 60 FPS, which is a very good quality to start streaming at. Speaking of computers, what computer should you pick up to plug the capture card into? Well, one option is to use an existing computer you might have, but if you're going to buy a new one, I would suggest picking up something like an old Optiplex or Elite Desk. I'm going to be using an Optiplex 3020 in this video. Make sure the Optiplex you're purchasing has at least an i5 processor, preferably from 2nd to 4th generation onwards. You want to make sure it's at least 4 cores. This is important because the processor will be handling the encoding of the signal being sent by the capture card to be broadcast onto your streaming platform. Assuming you follow about the same prices, the total starting cost should be around $150, excluding tax, which is pretty good for the amount of quality you should be getting with this setup. Now, let's go over what settings you should use for your stream. I suggest a bitrate of around 6,000 kilobits per second and a resolution of 1920 by 1080 with a frame rate of 60 FPS. If the computer struggles to run this, consider dropping the resolution down to 1280 by 720 or the frame rate to 30 FPS. If you have slower internet, you might want to drop the bitrate down too. As for the encoder, you should be using the QSV encoder. For the preset, it should be set to quality. The QSV encoder is the hardware accelerated encoder from Intel, and as such, will give the best performance, although x264 gives better quality, so you might want to try fiddling with the settings some to see what your computer can handle. As for adding the capture card to OBS, you want to add a new video capture device in the sources menu. Then for the device, you want to select the Mirrorbox video capture. By default, the settings don't make the capture card look super good, so make sure to configure them as I do in the video. You might be wondering how to get audio out of the capture card, and for that you need to use a custom audio device, and make sure to select Mirrorbox audio interface for the audio device. If you want to hear the audio through the computer, go to advanced audio properties and turn on audio monitoring for the video capture device. Just make sure to mute desktop audio unless you want the stream to hear the audio twice. As you will see in a second, the actual video quality is pretty decent, and the frame rate feels pretty smooth. The computer can even handle some mild overlays, but struggles on the more ambitious ones. Now, the quality still isn't perfect, and as your channel grows you will likely want to improve the viewing experience for your audience. So what should you do if you want to improve the quality of your streams, or have the ability to run more demanding overlays? One solution is to throw in a graphics card. Doing this will allow you to use the NVENC encoder, which will serve very well for encoding demanding streams. You could also try AMD's encoder, though I hear it is less superior to NVIDIA. I recommend the GTX 1050 Ti as a good choice if you want to balance price for performance. Just be careful and make sure that it fits your computer, as well as getting a model that doesn't have supplemental power. next thing you can do is upgrade the capture card. If you have a bit more money to spend and want better quality, consider picking up one of the Elgato capture cards. They're pretty pricey but are of high quality. So, there's my semi-quick guide on assembling your first streaming rig in order to stream from console. I hope this was informative and helpful. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks!